After a historic Daytona 500 to kick off the 2024 Superstar Series season, we're back at it once again on the weekly grind now as One Up takes to Auto Club Speedway in Southern California for round number 2 of the One Up Superstar Series for 2024. While this track has plenty of the high speeds you'd expect to see at Daytona, the racing's going to be quite a bit different as the field's going to get spread out quite a bit more, and we're going to see some pit strategy really dictate the outcome of this race. We expect it to be a one-stop race, but with the variables of one-up racing, anything's possible. And to break it all down with me, alongside me in the booth, is James Ellison once again. And this is going to be a great one, I feel, because we have 50 laps around the Auto Club Speedway. And last year's race here saw an excellent finish, and I would expect this one to be no exception either.
Oh, I have to agree with you there. This is a wonderful track, and we always see great racing. And after the way Daytona went, some of the people who are in this field are glad to be moving on to what they would consider a real track. I know I saw a few comments in some post-race interviews from the 500 about it, but this is a track that people are going to really start showing what they have. We're going to be able to see if our Daytona 500 winner, AJ Jones, has what it takes to at least keep the momentum going.
Absolutely. He got a little ground to make up, but he has a good qualifying effort here today. So we'll see if the 31 can post back-to-back wins to kick off the season. No, we don't believe anyone has done that in one-up history to date. As we can now bring you the starting lineup for today's 50-lap event, 100 miles at Auto Club. And it's the two Finguy Saitomi Motorsports Fords on the front row. Jeffrey Finguy takes pole position. Alongside him, Dylan Young in the 29. Mark Davey, who posted a strong top 5 result in the Daytona 500, lines up third. And next to him, Ben McDonald, who took a series of sickening barrel rolls down the back straightaway at Daytona to kick off his race. He lines up fourth, hoping to shake off the bad luck there. And Duke Ansack, now a winning team owner in the One-Up Superstar Series, completes the top 5. But next to him, we've got one of a handful of drivers who are making their first starts of the season after missing out in the Daytona 500. Zach Rogers being the one in this case. He lines up 6th. Bobo Jones, after missing the field for the first time in his career at the Daytona 500, he's back into the series now. He lines up 10th. And we've got a handful more. Liam Nolan starts 15th. Justin Henley 19th. Oh my, we got a lot more starting deeper in the field, and I would expect a lot of them to be serious contenders today, hoping to get their season started off right.
Oh, absolutely. And you know me, you mentioned my driver, Justin Henley. We really want to put the disaster that was Speed Weeks behind us as far as Superstar Series goes. We all know what happened in trucks last week, but this is where we really start to see where we need to improve, what we need to do, and we're not the only team that's there. I guarantee it.
So with that being said, we have 42 cars lined up on the grid to take the green flag. This is the One-Up Superstar Series from Auto Club Speedway, Fontana, California. The green flag is moments away from falling on the field, so stay tuned. You won't want to miss any of it. With the two FPM cars on the front row, will one of them score a big win at Auto Club Speedway, or will one of the 40 challengers sneak up and get them? We'll find out now, because the green flag is in the air, and the Auto Club Superstar round is underway. With Jeffrey Finguy and Dylan Young getting a fairly even start, the field's 2x2 diving it off into turn 1 for the first of 50 times today.
Yeah, they got off there even, but Finguy got the better run into turn 1, and well, Young's got a good run on the outside here, so it looks like right now it's fairly even.
You're going to notice that a lot today, as the outside line gets a good run out of the corners, but if you can dive it off like Finguy's doing right here on the inside and swoop up in front of the guy you're racing, just like he's doing right now, you'll be able to hold on for the lead. As off of turn 4 to complete lap number 1, Jeffrey Finguy out front.
And we saw right there Zach Rogers. We talked about how good of a start he had, the good starting position he had. He's already trying to make moves and prove that Daytona is in the rearview mirror for him.
Yep, and he's already making a move now on Mark Davey. That's for the 3rd position. So move Zach Rogers up to 4th, fighting with the 97 for a spot on the podium here. But it's only lap number 2, remember. And there's a lot of racing to go still after this. But Zach Rogers doing a great job out front, as is Bobo Jones in the blue 16 car back there, hanging onto a spot in the top 10. Brilliant stuff from Auto Club Speedway as Jeffrey Finguy and Dylan Young starting to try and break away from the field a little bit, but Mark Davey is not letting him get too far out in front, and he's getting a push from Zach Rogers, J.D. Martin as well. But I think the two FPM teammates are working together to try and settle this race between them quite early on.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're looking at here. It's they won it early on, and well, we talked about Duke Anzac being a winning team owner. He'd like to be a winning driver in his own equipment. So, but he's got a lot of drivers right there behind him, and like you said, it's early on.
How about Lane Sanders in the 87? He had a rough day at Daytona last week, not finishing that race, but he started 11th today. He's already made his way up into the 7th position, trying to take 6th off of Duke Anzac. And not too far behind him is his teammate Julio Caesar, who had a much better day at Daytona. The rookie trying to make some noise in his second career start. He's already fighting for a spot in the top 15.
And I guarantee you try to talk to Lane about last week, he'll say what. But as we get back up to the front, you see the Finguy Saitomi duo are not really getting very far ahead. As you see Mark Davey there, he's already trying to catch on to Young.
They're not losing the 97 of Mark Davey is the thing. They've gotten a pretty good gap to everyone else, but I think Mark Davey is providing that little bit of a bridge between the two FPM cars and the rest of the field. So now Davey's trying to hang on as best he can to Dylan Young, but he's got some challenge now from Zach Rogers behind him and J.D. Martin behind him.
Yeah, J.D. had a pretty good start. He started 7th, and he's making some moves now himself. And I'm sure he'd love to be able to move on from Daytona. Of course, we can say that about a lot of the competitors in the field today.
How about Zayden Davidson in the 4, third car for Revolution Racing? He had a pretty average day at Daytona. He started 14th in this race. He's already up into the top 10. He's working past his team owner, Vargas. He's going to make a move up to the 8th position already. Good run from the 4 car.
Not quite clear of the boss man just yet, but he made a move that at least got him past Sanders, which, still, that's one more position gained.
But now the two Sanders Performance Autosport cars of Sanders and Caesar going to try and work together in the outside group. 00 pushing the 87 off in the turn 1. Going to try and get some clean air onto the nose of that National Guard Dodge. And he's going to maybe pull alongside his teammate here. But up at the front of the field, we got a battle for the lead on our hands.
Speaking of teammates, we got teammates battling for a 10th, and now we got teammates trying to battle for the lead. But early on, they don't want to press too hard, but they want to take advantage of what the good while they've got it.
I think what they're going to try and do here is make an organized exchange to give Dylan Young a bonus point for leading a lap here at Auto Club, and he has done so by half a tenth of a second right there. So Young has led his lap, and he's got that bonus point now. I wouldn't be surprised if they reestablish the order now with Finguy ahead of Young. So we've seen Young be good at playing defense so far. We'll see if he can continue to do so against Martin and Davey.
Yeah, that side-by-side for as long as it lasted brought Martin and Davey right to them. And these FPR cars might be looking for a little bit of defense to really keep themselves in place.
Yeah, I think what they're going to do is they're going to have Young play as a rear gunner, trying to block off any further advances from the rest of the field and do it for as long as possible. But now he's doing just that. Jeffrey Finguy's pulling out to quite a big lead, and Dylan Young's doing whatever he can to play defense, because remember, a win for Finguy today would put him at the very top of the all-time win list past Christian Vargas.
Yeah, and that's something that Vargas, who is just back there, would really hate to see happen, because, we've seen battles to see who could be on the top of the board for most wins, and of course we still got those two going at it. So it's going to be interesting to see how many times they would trade that top spot on the leaderboard.
How about Zayden Davidson? He's clawed his way up to the top 5 now. He's gotten his way past Christian Vargas and working on Mark Davey right now. The problem for the 4 car now, he's on that inside line, which is not the preferred groove around this track. You want to be preferably around the middle to the top of the racetrack. You can make good dive bombs down there, but you just can't make solid exits work. But he's doing his best. 3 wide now with Zach Rogers in the 2 and Ben McDonald, a hometown driver, in 8th place.
Yeah, you gotta give Zayden Davis some credit here for at least making attempts, seeing if he can't, maybe work that inside groove in a little better, and maybe make it better for himself as well as others behind him, like see Anzac back there trying to do something, but not much for it because middle and high side are a lot better at the moment.
Yeah, and that we saw this a lot in the truck race as well. We saw most trucks in that race use this middle to top lane to their advantage. But hopefully, we've laid enough rubber down on that inside groove to make something of it. But we look now just outside the top 10. Julio Cesar trying to get around Duke Anzac. He's going to split his teammate Sanders to the top of the racetrack and go 3 wide. Now he's pushing Rogers off in the turn 1.
And that's helping Rogers out. You know that's not his intention, but sometimes you got to help out your opponents to be able to advance your position before you can tackle them.
Yep, but it looks like they've settled back in now. Lane Sanders has gained a couple positions in that exchange. He is now up to, I believe, the 6th position, 6th or 7th, right behind Zach Rogers in the 2. And and after the run Sanders had at Daytona, I would expect him to bounce back in a big way here.
Yeah, I think anything above 10, top 10, top 15 would be better for him compared to last week, but you know what he wants, and he wants to be in victory lane, which there's a whole lot of that going around with this field.
And looking a little further back now, this is Bobo Jones. Like we said at the top of the show, missed the field at Daytona for the first time in his career. He had started all 130 Superstar races up to that point, but he missed it last week. But he's back. He's back today. He started 10th, and now he's riding around just outside the top 10, battling Chrissy Spletzer for that position. Looks like he's going to fall back to about 14th. Still a good run for the 16 team in their first race with Bobo Jones.
Yeah, that's a real good showing right there. And like I said about Sanders, I can say it about a lot of people who had a rough going at Daytona or didn't even get to be in Daytona for run Daytona 500. That's anyone who's in this field who had a rough go of it last week, they're certainly going to enjoy a finish that's better than what they got.
Right now, Dylan Young doesn't really want to play defense anymore. They look a little further back to try and find their teammate, because Fingai Saitomi Motorsports has expanded to 3 cars this season. There's the 22 of Patrick Smith running just inside the top 30. He started this race back in 35th, so he's gained a couple positions along the way. Working now on Justin Henley for the 27th position, and after he dispatches it with 1, I would expect him to challenge Aaron Hall, Sam Odoskin, Rashi Mahendra, and the others around him.
Yeah, and talk about Henley, he's holding pretty good right now. I gotta say, I'm letting the team owner in me out. I just wanted to finish the race. That's all I'm worried about. A good finish is what I want, and that's what he's gonna get, which is better. And then you got JD Martin as we get back up to the front. He'd definitely like to join. Excuse me, I'm a little tongue-tied. He'd like to join his fellow Chevy driver AJ Jones as starting the season off with a win, and he's getting close to it right now, even though it's early. And
this is a big year for JD Martin. He got a contract extension at Robbers Racing. He got 1 year on his contract left to try and make something happen, to try and get back to victory lane. That is the #1 goal for JD Martin this season and for Robbers Racing, just to try and make it back to the winner's circle. He missed out last year. He crashed out of the Daytona 500 to start the season off, but right now he's making as good a challenge as we've seen anybody make so far on Dylan Young to try and get that 2nd spot.
And being on that outside, we talked about how much better it can be, although Young seems to be making it work, and look at Sanders bringing Miles Mashburn with him. Mashburn was outside the top 10, probably about 7 laps ago or something like that, if I remember correctly, and now here he is looking for a spot in the top 5 if he can get back up to Sanders.
Remember, Mashburn started 12th in this race, so He also crashed out at the Daytona 500. He needs a good run to kickstart his season off. But now we've seen a bit of a chink in the armor for Fingai Saitomi Motorsports. Now both Vargas and JD Martin have gotten past Dylan Young up into second and third. We'll see if these two can work together to try and chase down the 92, who has led all but one lap so far.
Yeah, I would say if they can get past that 92, it'll be all camaraderie out the window as well. Looks like Vargas is going to get a challenge from Sanders, and well, Lane, like we said, he'd love to go to victory lane, and if he can hold up in here, he might just have a shot at it.
Certainly would, and because we as we know, it's been a long time since Lane Sanders has been the victory lane. Got to go all the way back to the Daytona 500 a handful of years ago for the last time the 87 team went to victory lane. But he's performing very well here today, and we're looking a little further back. We've a couple of surprises back here, honestly. Take case in point, Zachary DeLello, who finished top 10 in the Daytona 500 to kickstart his season. He's now mired all the way back in the high 30s, and both the Fitzwater Australia cars are back here as well.
Yeah, that is definitely not where Fitzwater Australia duo wanted to be. Silver Fox and Fitzy himself, especially after what happened at Daytona for both of them. And
in addition to these two, you have Justin Whitmer and Austin Runkle, both of whom finished in the top 5 at Daytona, now running outside the top 35 here in California, as Lane Sanders tries an inside move on JD Martin for second. But as these two continue to battle, Jeffrey Finguy's lead just gets that much bigger.
Yeah, and he's got to be looking in the mirror watching his best buddy there in the 87 fighting Martin JD going, yeah, that's right, keep doing it. I'll just cruise away.
And keep in mind as well, we're only a couple of laps away from what should be our one and only round of pit stops in this race. We expect these guys to be able to make it about half race distance before needing to come into the pit lane. And as of right now, we're on pace to make that happen. It's just a matter of time now before we see a couple of the leaders peel off.
And for right there, you talk about the leaders. It's just a matter of which of these leaders is going to be the first to dive down onto pit road. Once one starts, I would expect at least some, if not all, to start diving down there. Just a matter of what everybody wants to do here once the pit window opens up.
Yeah, because this is one of those racetracks where you really want to be the first one in and out of pit road, because fresh tires mean a lot here, as we've seen in years past. But while Martin and Vargas have been battling it out for second place side by side, they've allowed Jeffrey Finguy to pull out a 1.3 second lead over the rest of the field. This 92 is on the rails. The question is, if one of these challengers comes in behind him, pits first before he can, will that play an advantage later on?
That's something we're gonna have to watch and see. And talk about Vargas and Martin. It was Vargas came in and replaced Sanders, who was currently dealing with the other Revolution racing car, and Zayden Davidson there. But these guys, they were able to do away with Young. Can they get to Finguy with or without the pit stops?
Well, they haven't quite dispatched Dylan Young yet. He's still hanging in there in the top 5. But now JD Martin has broken free of the chasing pack, and now we'll see. He did gain about a tenth and a half on Finguy on the previous lap. So I would expect it's gonna vary a lot, because the window is open now. So it's a matter of who's feeling risky enough to dive in now and risk having to make a second stop later.
Yeah, that's the issue, because you pit too early here, it could really mess up your day.
Oh, we got takers.
Oh, here we go.
Zayden Davidson, first of the leaders onto pit road, and Jeffrey Finguy came with him. So, Finguy, who's led over almost the entire race so far, ducks on the pit road first, with Zayden Davidson in tow. Sam Odoskin in the 75 also pits on this lap.
And now the question is, will it be the undercut or the overcut that'll pull off the race-winning move here?
And you saw Bobo Jones, he pitted the lap before Finguy and Davidson.
And now I'm expecting to see, looks like, yeah, here comes JD Martin. Looks like Mashburn, a whole host of others, while see Sanders, Young, a couple others ahead of them who are staying out.
Yeah, Vargas looks like he's going to take over the lead as most of the field pits here on lap 25. This is around the time I expected a lot of these guys to pit, at the halfway point, so to make sure they can make it to the end of the race on fuel. It's still a bit touch and go for this group pitting here, especially for Finn Guy, Davidson, Ozkin, and Bobo Jones. But I think if you're this group right here, if you're Christian Vargas, if you're Lane Sanders, Dylan Young, etc., you should be in really good shape, as it looks like they're coming in this time. One car left to pit, and that's going to be last year's winner of this race, Sam Donotto in the 77.
Yeah, and he's playing the long run. He's just making absolutely certain that he can make it on fuel, which, not a bad strategy. It's just a matter of what happens with everyone else who pitted early. And, like you said, some of the ones who went beyond the border out of the group that's coming on pit road now.
Yeah, you see them coming out of the pits now. Mark Davey had a slow stop in the 97. He's going to lose some time, as did Duke Ansack in the 83. But you see most of the field coming out of the pits now. Donotto was the only one to stay out an extra lap. So we'll see how that fares for him. I think he's got to be coming in this time, though, because he's got to be on fumes at this point. Bobo Jones, though, making a good run around the outside, trying to get past Emma Kruger in the 70, trying to gain one more position before the field strings itself back out, and there's Donotto in the pit lane.
And you see the 20 there as well, Keon Daly.
Yeah, this is the tail end of that.
Off pit.
Yeah, this is the tail end of that previous group with Sanders and Vargas.
And now you see Donotto getting service, but once this all cycles out, I'm kind of curious how this is going to look.
I know how it's going to look. It's going to be Jeffrey Finguy and Zayden Davidson with quite a big lead over everybody else. They were the first ones on pit road among the leaders, and they are going to have quite the advantage coming out of this cycle.
And that's not what JD Martin wanted to see. He went in second, comes out of this cycle third, which isn't too bad until you take into consideration the gap to the lead.
And how about Sam Ozkin? He was running outside the top 25 when he pitted. He's now up to 6th place in the MasterCard Mercedes. So great run. That'll be a net 5th once Donotto cycles out. So great run from the IDA Mercedes there. But as they run right now, Finguy has quite the big lead over Zayden Davidson, and even bigger over J.D. Martin and Miles Mashburn, as you see a couple of the stragglers at the tail end of the field. But they're in no danger of losing a lap here because of how big Auto Club Speedway really is. And now we can see the margins that Finguy has to work with. 0.8 of a second over Zayden Davidson, 3.5 seconds back to the Robbers Racing pair of Mashburn and Martin.
And this is where these two right here, the Robbers Racing duo, they want a caution. I'm sure Zayden would probably love one too, but a lot of the rest of this field, they would really love a caution right now to bunch everything back up and be able to see what they can actually do
and
to deal with Finguy.
And for Davidson and Finguy, they might want a caution just to be able to top off and make sure they can make it to the end. So I'm sure a caution flag is in the back of these drivers' minds. I don't think it's their main focus, though. Their focus now for Davidson and Finguy is to save fuel and make sure they can make it. They've got quite a big lead over Mashburn and Martin. They just can't afford to run out of gas here.
Yeah, that's the big gamble when you pit early enough, because if you go in early enough, then you're not sure if even if you pack it full of fuel and you still got that little bit of question mark there, you got to really be careful what you do.
And I think Bobo Jones in the 16, he's about to get run over by about 4 or 5 cars. Because remember, he was the first one on pit road at lap 23. And I would fully expect at this stage of the race that he's got to be the most concerned about fuel. And well, he's got older tires, and that's why everybody's running him over now. But looking back now to the Robbers Racing pair of Martin and Mashburn, they're gaining a little bit of time. They gained 0.2 in the previous 2 laps. I don't know. That's going to be pretty close at the moment, especially considering we're coming up on 20 laps to go.
Yeah, this is going to be the big question mark here. And we were talking about the 16 getting run over. one of the cars that was working on running him over was Devin Fair. We didn't see much of him in the top 10 until around this pit cycle, and now he's up there, and we got all four of the Revolution Racing drivers up there, but they're not all together, and they're not up front, which is where they prefer to be.
Yeah, we've got Davidson in second, Vargas 7th, Fair in 8th. Those are your 3 Revolution Racing cars at the moment. Oskin's still hanging on to a spot in the top 5 as we got contact between Bobo Jones and Emma Kruger in the 70. Bobo Jones looks like he's making the trip back to pit road. He's going to try and top off and make sure he's good to go.
Yeah, that was a real close call. I was beginning to think, because I remember what happened when we saw with Kev Shear and Christian Vargas at Daytona last week. I was worried that they were going to come down and ricochet back across, and might not have been as big a wreck, but we would have definitely lost a few good competitors.
Yeah, and for Bobo Jones, that would have really hurt considering how he started his 2024 season. Looks like he's going to take some right side tires here and pack that thing full of fuel. Make sure he's good to go to the end, but he will lose a lap to the race leaders. The only thing that could save his race now is one of two things. Either a caution, or if these guys all have to pit again. And you see the damage on the right side of that 70 car.
Yeah, that's the car that I personally would have expected to see right side tires on, but then again, we did look away before we saw the finish of the cycle, so maybe they did get 4 tires. We don't know.
It's going to be interesting to see, though, because here comes Bobo Jones back out in the traffic. He is a lap down now. Caution will fix him, right? He'll get the free pass unless he is a part of the caution, of course. But if he doesn't get one, I have a feeling his race has gone from bad to worse, as his teammate Stephen Gale tries to make his way around.
Yeah, that's got to really hurt, especially considering, like you said, how his season has started. But, you know, I'm sure he'll be happy to at least finish the race and get a few points out of this, and then have to look up the ladder and be like, this is the only way to go.
But right now, we're closing in on the end of this race, and Jeffrey Finguy has led most of the way. He gave 1 lap to his teammate Dylan Young, and then let a few other cars lead during the pit cycle. Other than that, he has been leading throughout this entire race. And then you can see now Mashburn has gotten past JD Martin, and it looks like they're slowing. We've got caution on the speedway. Big break for Bobo Jones.
Yeah, I just happened to look and see the caution lights were on. I was going to say something, and then you noticed it. Wonder what happened here. That's a very interesting thing going on here.
But it looks like it was an accident off of turn 2. Henley and Nolan. Henley and Nolan, the two drivers who were making their first starts of the season, were having decent runs up in the top 25. All for naught now, as it looks like those cars that pitted really early, Finguy, Davidson, and Oskin, they're all coming in the top off.
Yep. I'm calling the shop after this one. Doesn't look as bad as what happened in Henley's duel, but still a little bit of work to do in the FAD department when we get back to the shop.
Looks like everybody else is staying out here, and Bobo Jones, he's going to come in, make sure, and probably get left side tires now, because he knows he's going to be the free pass car no matter what happens, so he might as well come in and get those left side tires as well. The problem for Finguy, for Davidson, and for Oskin, they're going to start right at the back of this field with only about 10 laps to go.
That's going to open it wide open for, well, both the Robbers Racing drivers up front that were trying to chase him down, Mashburn and Martin, and then you got a whole bunch of other drivers back there that now have a new opportunity to try to make something happen with Finguy out of the picture, especially.
Well, he might not be out of the picture just yet, but he's going to have a big hole to dig himself out of now. So here's Liam Nolan. He was running just outside the top 25 when the engine just detonates inside that IKEA Toyota. He goes up the track, wise move to try and get out of people's way, and so far he's so good in doing that, but I think he's dropping a lot of fluid on the racetrack, and Justin Henley may be coming up from behind here any moment to slip in the oil. There he goes.
Yeah, honestly, there wasn't really anything Justin could do there. That's just wrong place, wrong time. That's the big mystery right now. We're going to find out, and maybe he just might be able to save his race here and at least get something out of this.
So there'll be 40 cars still running in this race, and they'll all be on the lead lap. But the big names to keep your eye on at the back of this field are the guys that were up front when the caution came out. Zayden Davidson, Jeffrey Finguy, Samit Ozkin, and Bobo Jones. How far up the field can they get in I believe we're going to go back racing with about 12 laps to go.
Yeah, that's not a ton of time to make something happen to maybe still win the race, but at the same time, it's plenty of time to make up a lot of positions.
Absolutely. As Bobo Jones now catches up to the tail end of the field, and we should be getting the one-to-go signal this time. As now we've got a Robbers Racing 1-2 at the front of the field. How about that? Mashburn leads Martin. Devin Fair up into third. We haven't mentioned them much today, and we especially haven't mentioned Aaron Hall in the 07. He's made his way up into the top 5, looking for his first career win. And Christian Vargas, an ever-present threat, lurking back there at the tail end of the top 5.
And I've seen some new players here. We got at the back of the top 10. We got Patrick Smith. We haven't talked much about him except where he started toward the back. He was 35th, and then you got the 86th there. Chrissy Switzer
started 21st.
Yeah, she's doing really good for a restart here. Let's see if she can hang on.
Started 21st today. Could this be a first top 10 in Superstar competition for that 86? We'll find out in a moment, but here we go. This is going to be a restart that's going to decide a lot because we know Davidson, Finguy, Ozkin, and Bobo Jones. We know they're good to go, and they're going to be charging like demons from the back of the field to try and gain as many spots as possible before the field strings itself out too much. But my question is, who of among the front group is going to hang on and win this race, as we're going to get ready for a restart this time?
Yeah, there's quite a few. We mentioned a lot of the top 10 competitors. I mean, we kind of skipped over Sanders Performance Autosport, but they've been a presence all day, so not really surprised to see them up there, but there's plenty of drivers here who could have a shot at this win here.
Miles Mashburn and J.D. Martin, they have not been the victory lane in a long time. We'll see if either one of them can score the win here at Auto Club Speedway. Green flag back in the air.
Yeah, you see Lane Sanders peeking out a little bit behind Vargas, but because they're just getting speed, he doesn't really have the run to go, but maybe, just maybe, he can get his teammate to help him once they get the speed.
Here are the 4 at the back. They haven't moved yet, but I would expect them to make some big moves starting on this back straightaway. But at the front of the field, Mashburn continues to lead. He's pulling a big gap from J.D. Martin, who's actually kind of holding the field up a little bit. Because Martin did not get up to speed as well as his teammate. Now he's getting swarmed by some powerful Toyotas. Aaron Hall up to second. Could he get his first win here and make it back-to-back at Auto Club for Game Breaker Racing?
That would be huge, especially for him, because he had kind of an up-and-down 2023 season, because I can remember he had some highs, and of course, there's, as happened with a lot of drivers, there's a lot of lows, but he needs to watch out. If he's going to be the top Toyota, he's got two others right there around him.
And they're both series champions, Devin Fair and Christian Vargas, who's now stuck on the inside, but he might still be able to make some time because J.D. Martin's holding up that outside line. This 66 is free-falling through the field.
Something's got to be up with that car, or just maybe everybody else just got that much better restart. As we see the other Finguy Satomi car fighting with Sanders Performance Autosport here.
Yeah, how about Patrick Smith? He's now the lead driver for Finguy Saitomi Motorsports in this race. Started 35th. He's up to 7th place in that 22. We'll see if he can hang on for it for another 10 laps, 9.5 laps now. He's getting a good push from last year's winner here, Sam Donato. We got some new challengers we haven't talked about yet. Chase Christ in the 15. Pole sitter for the Daytona 500. He's back there. And looks like at the back, Jeffrey Finguy has moved forward already 7 places.
Yeah, 7 places, but with with 9 laps to go, that's not going to be enough time with the field spreading out like it is. As their defending champion is all over the back of the 72.
Yeah, and Devin Fair, this is something he really stressed was important this season, getting good results early to avoid what happened last year. falling deep into a points hole and then having to kick and claw his way back up to the top. He wants to start 2024 much better than he did 2023. So far, he's doing that as he gets to the outside of Mashburn. We're going to be side by side for the lead, now coming to 8 laps to go.
These guys stay side by side, which doesn't look like it's going to be for very long. Could see Lane Sanders get in the mix, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but you know he wants that win, but he's got two hungry competitors also to get their seasons on, keep them on track or get them back on track even.
And Devin Fair, he did get a top 10 in the Daytona 500, but he wants to start the season off with back-to-back top 10 finishes, and one of them hopefully could be a win if he hangs on here today. But we're coming now to 7 laps to go at Auto Club Speedway. Sanders now making a move to the inside of Mashburn, whose tires might be starting to go off a little bit.
Yeah, that's the key right there. Once the tires start wearing, who has the freshest tires compared to the others, but who also has the best equipment to race against everybody. Right now, it looks like Sanders, he's getting the equipment going at the right time. Aaron Hall, he's not done yet.
Yeah, but they've got to clear Mashburn in a big hurry. They're going to have any hope now of catching Devin Fair, who's stretched out to a 0.3 of a second lead. Sanders got to be doing whatever he can now. Got to be fighting for tooth and nail for this one. Down now into turn 3 with Miles Mashburn to his outside. He's got to race fair. He's got to race clean, but he's got to make sure he can catch Devin Fair. And it looks like he's going to clear to 72 at least most of the way now that we have 6 laps to go.
And don't look now, the other Spa cars in the top 5. You got Julio Caesar. He's watching his team owner and boss and teammate try to do something here and maybe get things back on track for at least the 87 team.
Yeah, but it looks like Mashburn's now gotten back around the 87 as now Aaron Hall makes a move steaming around the outside of Devin Fair. Aaron Hall trying to get his first career win. We're coming to 5 laps to go, and any one of these cars is in contention to win this race.
Like I said earlier, you get Fit Guy out of the way, and it opened it wide open. You see the other Spa car, you see Caesar coming into the picture. He might be able to be the one to get Spa's first win of the season if things play out his way.
But he's got to get past 3 hungry cars to make it happen. Jeffrey Finguy's climbed his way up into the top 20, but I don't think it's gonna matter much for him. He's probably not gonna win this race. But Aaron Hall trying to chase down Devin Fair in the 51, coming to 4 laps to go at the line. Wouldn't it be something for Aaron Hall if he were to pick this one up?
Yeah, I think that would be truly an upset, even though he has shown he has the talent. It would be an upset in the matter of the fact that he has yet to get himself a win in this series. And he's just got to really play it smart here, but also not play it too conservative.
No, he's got to balance it though. He's got to go all out to try and catch the 51, but at the same time he's got to try and manage his stuff to keep the 00 and the 72 behind him. Caesar now up to 3rd. We're coming to 3 laps to go in this race, and it's possible any one of these cars could be your winner here today.
And don't look now. Hall's got a teammate coming up here. He's got Denoto.
And Denoto's been known to break hearts here at Auto Club Speedway before. He won this race last year on a last lap pass. Could we see something similar here today?
Yeah, that'd make an awkward team meeting if that heartbreak was his own teammate. But right now, he's just trying to hold off Sanders while Mashburn and Caesar try to find their way past Hall.
Coming down the back straightaway now. We're coming to 2 laps to go. Devin Fair doing everything right in this race. Aaron Hall doing everything in his power to try and get by the 51. Coming now into turns 3 and 4 with 2 laps to go. They all dive it down to the inside, giving Caesar room. I think they're starting to sputter. They are starting to sputter.
Oh,
Fair, Hall, Mashburn all have the pit. That gives Julio Caesar the lead with 2 to go.
Oh, this is unreal. Who else is pit now? Or are we looking at... We're looking at potentially a Spa 1-2 here if Sanders can get by Denoto.
And that, I'm sure, is what Lane Sanders is trying to do. He's fighting tooth and nail to try and pass that 77 to give Sanders Performance Autosport a 1-2 finish in just their 2nd race as a 2-car organization. We're coming to the white flag this time. Could the rookie Julio Caesar be in position to score a big win at Auto Club? We're about 2.5 miles from finding out.
And look in fourth place, you got Joshua Michaels. He made some noise at Daytona last week. And now here he is looking at a top 5 once again. Dylan Young pulling himself back into the picture. And he's got his teammate as the white flag is now in the air.
Good Lord, look at all this. We've had so many cars hit the pit lane. It's not just those 3. We've got so many peeling off. They couldn't make it on fuel. But coming down the back straight for the final time, that's not going to mean anything to Julio Cesar, who's about a half a lap away from the biggest day of his racing career. For 3 and 4 for the final time. Denoto looks like he's going to be able to hold off Sanders, so a 1-2 is not on the cards. But how about the Sanders Performance Autosport duo? Lane Sanders is going to bring home a much-needed podium, but it's Julio Cesar who steals the show here at Auto Club Speedway. The Brazilian rookie gets the win at Auto Club Speedway.
Wow, that is incredible. And you know what? I'm eating some of my words. I was doubting this move by Sanders to add a second car and get another driver in it. And well, you know what? I'm actually happy to eat my own words because he may not be in victory lane as a driver, but you know what? I don't think Lane's gonna care. Spa still went to victory lane, and we got some contact.
Yeah, JD Martin giving a nudge to Julio Cesar at the end of this race. Sam Denoto splits the 2 Spa cars to come home second. Joshua Michaels, you mentioned it. We hadn't mentioned him at all. He comes home 4th. Christian Vargas 5th. Young. Stephen Gale, he started 38th today. Comes home 7th out of Patrick Smith. Chase Christ comes home 9th. And Bobo Jones from a lap down brings it home in the top 10 today. How about that?
Yeah, I said he was looking for some redemption. Some fuel misfortune gave him the true redemption he was looking for. And Chase Christ, that is a good run. After the bad luck season he had last year, that is desperately needed for him.
And for Zayden Davidson, Jeffrey Finguy, Sam Oskin, they did have enough fuel to make it, but it's only 11th for the 4, 12th for the 92, 13th for the 75. That's the tale of the day at Auto Club Speedway. What a race this has been. Final thoughts from an incredible final few laps and a whole race, really, at this Southern California Speedway.
Yeah, honestly, that was a real good race, and yeah, fuel mileage played into it like I kind of expected. Of course, we did have one incident that I'm gonna have to write a check for, but other than that, I had a lot of fun watching this race. Other than that one wreck.
Absolutely. This is going to be a big, big day for Sanders Performance Autosport. And not only is that the case, but for rookie Julio Cesar, who's never even been in a one-up car before this season, he now leads the points after 2 races. How about that? So, from James Ellison and from myself as well, we say goodbye from the Auto Club Speedway. We'll see you again next week out in St. Louis, Worldwide Technology Raceway. First time the Superstar Series has been there. We're looking forward to bringing that one to you next week. We'll see you guys then. But for now, Sanders Performance Autosport just put in the biggest drive of their team's history. Julio Cesar, your big winner at Auto Club. What were the odds of that being pulled off?